So far I have my one goal in place. Goal 1 is to stay in my pajamas for the entire day and hopefully 3 lives. So some of you guys are like, why am I getting all this email and why are you going live so many times today? Vegan for Everyone is an ebook collaboration that I did with a bunch of other bloggers, and it's only on sale through tonight at midnight, probably Pacific Standard Time. If you see this a little bit later, you could check, but after that it's just not available. A lot of the recipes are not oil-free, so I wanted to go ahead and do a demo of some oil-free stuff and see how it's going and what we can do differently. I did get a couple of emails from viewers who bought it already, and this was one of the recipes, and I think it's Sopa de Conchitas, and I'm saying that so badly, so please forgive me, all you wonderful Spanish speaking peoples. But basically it looks like a chicken broth and tomato pasta soup. So Cheryl grew up in a Polish household, and I believe it was your grandmother, right, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Her grandmother used to make Campbell's tomato soup and would put noodles in it and butter, and I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. And then I read this recipe and I was like, interesting. So the ingredients are really simple, and in fact, as written almost, except for one like oil ingredient that's used to saute the pasta. It's actually kind of an oil-free soup made easily. So I did a little bit of research because and I'm using Banza shells. I'll let you guys see these. It said mini shells, but you know, sometimes you do what you got. This was the smallest shells that we had. And hi Nona and Mona and Marilyn and Kara, Penny, Kelly, Mona. I think I said everybody. Y'all are awesome for hanging out with me so many times today. And I can tell you, I appreciate, like, I know a lot of you, until I walk away, you think, oh, she's got a new Halloween t-shirt. No, these are pajamas. The bottoms match. It's awesome. So the ingredients are quite simple. We just need a small can of tomatoes. I'm using fire roasted because that's what I have. So again, we're using what we have, some onion and garlic, and those are actually going to get just pureed up in here. Then she's calling for 8 cups of vegetable broth. I use bouillon cubes, and you can get recipes for my really inexpensive bouillon cubes at healthyslowcooking.com. Look up bouillon, or plantbasedinstantpot.com. You can make it in the Instant Pot, the slow cooker, the stove, in your Dutch oven, in the oven. So, you know, all it is an onion cut up with some celery, carrots, and thyme. You cook it down, puree it with some nutritional yeast. I do it salt-free. And let's say you aren't able to eat carrots, you could leave carrots out. The only thing that would be hard is if you can't eat onions. It gives a lot of flavor, but you probably could put maybe celeriac or celery root in there instead of the onion and still get a really nice broth. So this is cheap. It doesn't have any additives. Dora's recipe, and also Dora Stone, go look at her blog, Dora's Table. It's amazing. She's got a great tamale book. I just think she's amazing, and she veganizes a lot of her traditional Mexican food that she grew up with, so she's amazing for ideas. And let's see, hey Cheryl, okay, there we go. Oh, and Justine, busy making your salad while you watch. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I looked up and I said, why do you saute the pasta in this particular Mexican recipe? And the answer I got, I loved, because it's actually I was just going to dry toast it. Because you know, my thing is if it's something like an onion or something like that, I'm going to water saute. If it's something like whole cumin seeds, coriander seeds, carb pasta. I was thinking dry toasting it. And so basically the idea is to make it taste toasty, just like how we toast the rolled oats before we grind them to make a Parmesan. So then they taste like nuts, and it actually adds a flavor to the food. And let me see how many, 8 ounces shells. Okay, good. I didn't double check that. Yeah, the King's Child loves Dora's Mexican recipes. They are amazing. Oh, and TS says my mom would put butter and either rice or noodles in my tomato soup if she didn't want to make grilled cheese sandwiches. And I have some leftover queso, and we've got some Ezekiel bread. So, and I'll probably be making, well, actually, you guys have that special free class on YouTube, so make sure to go back and see it, the potato meal plan class. But I make a pumpkin ancho queso. And you can make it without the cornstarch, Marilyn. So actually without putting anything else in it. The oats worked. I just made it last night. So I was thinking that toasted up on sandwiches with this would be pretty amazing. Okay, awesome. Everybody loves Dora, as they should. So I'm just going to put this on medium heat. And sorry, it's going to be, I know it's not quite as loud. The bonza may need a little more time to cook when we come right down to it, and that's okay. What do we have besides time? I have 80 bazillion things to do today, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm also, while I'm over here, I'm going to grab a ladle. I think this one needs to be rinsed off. Since the heat just came on, really not worried about this pasta burning or something horrible happening. It's just not that big a deal. So I'm going to smell it, and then we're just going to toast it until it smells a little toasty, just like we would the oats. And so that's why I loved getting this answer. Oh, Dee, I'm glad you like the queso with pumpkin. I also last night, I don't think this is as exciting to watch as I was hoping. And I just kind of, what do I have? I have 6 of my bouillon cubes. That's about 12 tablespoons. I have no idea how many cups that is. We're going to, and that's what we're going to use for our bouillon. We can always add more. I just popped those out of the freezer. So we're going to put our tomatoes. And we're going to get every bit. I think the fire roasted tomatoes should be good. What I find interesting is we're just using basically 1.5 cups of tomatoes to 8 things of chickenless broth. We're going to put about 3 garlic cloves. And I'm just popping it in here. Oh, I can smell it. I can smell it changing a little bit. I'm going to turn it down just a little. Okay, I see you, toasty shells. And then I'm going to put these onions that I minced more really than I needed to because I didn't read all the directions. So it happens to everyone. That's why I always tell you to read the directions. And usually I do. I just think I had some assumptions about this recipe. I thought it was going to be more like my creamy tomato soup, which it's not. And that is perfectly fine. That means it will be even more fun for me to try today. And then I just put up the next live, which I'm going to do at 5. And I'm going to make a variation on Spa Betty's air-fried buffalo cauliflower. I think we're going to make a yogurt bang bang sauce, but I'll tell you what you can use instead of butter for the buffalo sauce too. So I'm just sticking all the stuff in here, and I'm going to puree it. I know, Kimberly, I'm going to be here like all day. And actually, you can see it getting a little bit toasty. See if you guys can see it off to the side a little bit. Can you see, like, there's a few places like right there. There's a couple of little toasty spots. I think this is fascinating because I have never heard to do this. Oh, and Nona says, my mother used to serve tinned tomato soup. It was foul. It was so acidy. Well, you know, here in the U.S., we put milk in ours. And so, but I love a good tomato soup. I don't like directions. That's okay. As long as you take responsibility for whatever happens. I'm going to go ahead and just turn this off because, like, how many? It said for about 3 minutes. And I think it's been a little bit more. But I'm going to turn off so I can blend in these tomatoes and add it in. Because we're going to do that first. I'm very curious to know if, because see how this color is a lot lighter because of the onion? It'll be interesting to see if this actually makes it seem kind of sweet and creamy. And I'll let you guys see me do this. Let me get a spatula because the spatula is like the best thing ever. Okay, so add the shell. So normally there would be oil in here and we would be coating it with oil, but the oil isn't important, it's the toasting. And it definitely has a yummier smell to it. So it does, I'm just fascinated to find out this has adds a flavor element. So we're gonna reduce the heat to low. And we'll have some time to talk while things are cooking, because I think we have 2 cooking times. So sorry if I'm not answering all your questions as quickly as I normally would. I'm also making a new to me recipe, though it's a Dora Stone recipe, so I know it's awesome. I have all the trust in her recipe development skills. And I love to learn new things from her. Okay. And I am an obsessive spatula. It makes it easier to clean and there's less waste. And food costs too much to waste it these days, in my opinion. Okay, so we've got that in there. So we're supposed to reduce heat to low and we're gonna let it simmer until it becomes a deep red color. Mine may not, we just wanna see the color change a little bit. It looks a lot deeper red on the screen than I'm sending you. It looks a little pinker in real life. I don't know. Let's see if this lighting. Can you see how it's a little bit pinker? There's some that's good. There you go. Just so you can kind of get an idea of what the heck's going on. And then what we're going to do, we're going to let this simmer a little bit until I think it reduces a little bit. It's going to cook the onions. They're getting it more translucent. That should let that red color come out and be more transparent. And then we're going to put in the vegetable broth, which for me is 8 cups of water that I already measured out, and 6 bouillon cubes, which I think should be enough to be the broth and the extra better than bouillon, no chicken base. So if you're SOS free, you can't use most of the bouillons. If you're looking to eat whole food plant-based, there may be some ingredients in the better than bouillon you don't want. For me, I'm being cheap. That's why I make my bouillon, because it's just onion and whatever. Now, I like to make bouillon over broth. And sometimes this seems to surprise people, but I can make enough bouillon cubes to last me for 3 months freeze them and then pop them into resealable bags. If I made enough broth to do that, I just wouldn't have the room to store it. So that's why I choose one versus the other. You could keep all your vegetable scraps in a little bag in the freezer, and we could have made vegetable broth while I was doing stuff today in other ways. So you do what you like the best. Either way, it would work here. Oh, and we've got, I know. Nona says, I don't know what my Italian neighbors would say to roasting the pasta. Well, and the thing is it is the dried pasta. It's not fresh pasta. So, it's interesting, but when I was looking at Dora's recipe, knowing that Dora does traditional food, I went ahead, that's when I was searching the name of the dish out to see if I could find out why the pasta was toasted. And I think what this is supposed to be, just like tomato soup is for Americans, kind of a easy, inexpensive way to feed you or your children. Tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches are just like the way we live our lives here in the U.S. Okay, great question. What's the difference between a veg broth? A veg broth is a liquid. A bouillon is a paste. So a broth is ready to use. A bouillon is a concentrate. So you can look at it like that. Okay. And so we're just I'm smelling for the onions to be cooked really well, the onions and the garlic. Also, you'll serve on the side a nice, hefty, thick slice of lime to squeeze in here as an option, but really this is all the ingredients. So it's a very simple soup. It would be perfect for these fall nights and maybe even winter, when maybe you don't have a lot of food, you have a snowstorm or something like that. You probably have all of these things in your house. Oh, thank you, Diana. They are my pajamas. Oh, thank you. I love my recipe for the bouillon. It's the first recipe I developed just for vegan slow cooking for 2, because I realized I would use my whole advance buying better than bouillon. And that's before it got expensive. And let's see. Oh, good, Liz. I'm glad you're really enjoying the ebook. And that's why this weekend I had a lot of classes, so I was going to go live. So today I'm just doing all the things I was going to do this weekend plus today. And we'll see if I don't go to bed early, maybe I'll do a 4th live, but I doubt it. I would like to think I will be asleep early tonight. Because I did have one request to do the Persian dish, and at this point there were no places that could deliver me barberries, but we'll see. I could make it without it. So I'm smelling to see, since this is a new to me recipe, I'm smelling to see if the sharpness of the onion and the garlic has kind of come down a little bit. I'm thinking of this as sauteing my aromatics. Only now pasta's an aromatic. I love learning new things. Okay. And Nona says it's really difficult to avoid olive oil here. Every family seems to have a field full. And I'm not sure if you're doing whole food plant-based or whole food plant-based no oil or SOS or sofas or one of the bazillion things. Now, if you're doing sofas, you would not want to have pasta. So what I would do, if you spiralize a carrot, sometimes it makes these little macaroni shapes. I would just throw that in, or just make it without the pasta. So you still could do that. And Dwayne says, when I make a pilaf, we toast the pasta. It does change the flavor. You could, at least to the nose, it made a significant change of what it was going to be there. Oh, it's so awesome to have you live, Jennifer. I know Amazon sells them, but they couldn't get them here from last night to today. So So that was my thing. And Cheryl makes her own broth from scraps. She stores in the freezer. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the way you like to do it. The bouillon recipe you can get on healthyslowcooking.com or plantbasedinstantpot.com. Just search up in the search bar, just type bouillon. Oh, you substitute goji berries. Do I have any goji? I have a goji berry bush that's a baby. Last year I got one goji berry. I don't see that I'm going to get any this year either. What's sofa? So Chef AJ's, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to come back to that because I think this is about as sauteed as this is going to get. How it's reducing and everything. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to pour in, she says to pour in the vegetable broth. I'm pouring in 8 cups of water and I'm making it into broth with my bouillon cubes. And so I do use nutritional yeast in mine. These were frozen, so they're mostly, there's a little bit of thawing that's happened in the past 15 minutes. They're yellow from nutritional yeast, but if you don't want a chickeny broth, you could leave that out, or if you have some difficulties. And then we're going to bring it to a simmer over medium-high heat. I'll say that's 8 on here. And we're going to simmer it until the pasta is tender, about 12 to 13 minutes. It may be a little longer since I did not use wheat pasta and used chickpea pasta. It usually takes a little bit longer, but I'll set a timer at 13 minutes for us to try it. And then that way I can come back and answer your questions. So this is what we're going to do. And the bouillon will melt and kind of get in there really nice. And then after this, once the pasta is tender, we will add some salt and pepper. Don't use salt. Use your favorite salt-free blend. You could go ahead and use the Mexican blend, or you could use my plain salt blend, which is 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, and 1 teaspoon ground celery seed. Mix it together, just use it like you would salt. Okay, now, let me go back here. Here we go, back to Diana. And what is SOFAs? Okay, so whole food plant-based, or WFPB, I never say it, I only type it. It's whole food plant-based. Under whole food plant-based, so there's vegans. Oreo is vegan. Oreo would not be considered whole food plant-based because it's not a whole food. Yes, there's lots of little minutia between those, but this is where we're going to keep it right now. So under whole food plant-based, so I've been doing Dr. McDougall's program, which is whole food plant-based, no oil. So is Dr. Esselstein's, Forks Over Knives, Dr. Greger, Dr. Furman. A lot of the different doctors all fall under whole food plant-based, no added oil. Okay, then there is another level, which is whole food plant-based SOS. No sugar, salt, or oil. Oftentimes, dates are allowed as a sweetener, but that means no added salt. So again, just like in whole food plant-based, no oil, usually what I get is, you're going to get dementia if you don't eat oil. Well, there's fat in oats. So you don't have to eat refined oil to get fat in your diet. It is a low-fat diet for sure, and those fats are occurring naturally. So you've got that going for you. Okay, so I want to give you these levels because you're like, why won't you just answer the question? Because all of those come before. And so SOFAs, whole food plant-based SOFAs, is the most restrictive of the general diets people follow. And so it's no sugar, let me look at it again here. Sugar, oil, flour, avocado, nuts, and seeds. So it's SOS basically, plus no flours. So no oat flour, no whole wheat flour, no pastas because they're made with flour, no avocados, no alcohol, no nuts and seeds. Dr. McDougall, most of the doctors would prefer it if you just didn't drink alcohol because it's not a helper, right? It's like it's kind of either it's for your health or against your health is the way a lot of people look at things. And coffee is also, caffeine is seen that way. And I do a little coffee. And I'll have my little, once a month drink. And usually I make a non-alcoholic mocktail. But so Sofa's eating is also usually geared to often, not always, to people who feel like they're dealing with food addictions. So that's why it's a little more restrictive. It's looking to not trigger anybody for things that they have. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. I feel like my soup isn't as red as I thought it would be. But I'll show you guys what we're seeing so far. And I'll look for some more questions. But it does look kind of like Campbell's tomato soupy kind of thing. Alrighty. And oh yay, Rill can read the book. That's amazing. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Ooh, I'm missing something. Jennifer Wish. I'm missing a cut. I like to know what you guys are up to and talking about. Okay. Yes, salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar-free. But there's also no avocados, nuts, or seeds. I'm not positive about the use of soy in sofas. I just taught a class for Fab After 40, which is a sofas class. So I picked what I was doing a little more carefully. It's a little more restrictive than how I typically eat. But I love developing recipes for people who have more special needs too. Yep, you can save vegetable pulp from juicing to make broth. Absolutely, Alicia. Then it's all up to you. There are 1,000 ways to do every single thing. One anti-venom says, I get one berry from my baby mulberry bush. I've got it kind of tucked away. It was just a little wee thing, so we'll see what happens. Oh, okay. And Marilyn said we made a side dish in New Mexico using noodles called Fideo, I hope I'm close. Toasted the Fideo until browned and added onions and sauteed until clear. Added garlic and broth and cooked until the noodles were tender. It sounds very similar. Kitty Mama, I think you're right. It's alcohol and sugar, but I also, I keep going, don't forget you can't have avocados, nuts, or seeds. So that's where I get a little, I have my little laundry list of things. If I'm developing a recipe, let's say for Chef AJ, it goes even further because she's allergic to beans. So I have to think even, whereas you can have beans on sofas, she just can't because she has an allergy. And I want to taste this. I know it's not all the way done, but I want to taste it because I'm thinking I might want to put another can of tomatoes in here. It's pretty good the way it is. I'll think about it. It's really bothering me that it's not as red as I thought it would be. And this is why I'm doing some of the things for you too, because this could be something you would do. It's like, well, and maybe I kind of did 3/4 of a half an onion, and it said to put a whole onion in. And whenever you see something, it's like 1 onion, 3 cloves of garlic, you kind of have to just guesstimate what an average is. Okay. And anyone, okay, no fighting in the comment about should you eat nuts or seeds, because it's a personal decision. And should you decide to eat nuts and seeds, you should eat them. Should person B says, I don't eat nuts and seeds, it's none of our business. They can not eat nuts or seeds. So there's lots of data about different things, and there's lots of different doctors. It depends on what doctor and what program you're following. And here, and in my groups, we support people where they are doing the eating plan that they're trying to do that falls under whole food, plant-based, or vegan. And in fact, we even have people who eat meat occasionally who just come for veggie recipes, and that's fine too. But what we don't do is tell other people what they should and shouldn't eat. I'm drawing a very clear boundary about that because you don't want someone telling you what to eat. And it's fine, Dr. Greger has lots of great studies about nuts and seeds. But what if someone's on a Dr. Esselstyn program, which has no nuts and seeds, for someone who perhaps is doing a diet instead of getting like their chest opened and their heart having surgery on it, right? So you can't know the background of that. So please be very specific. I'm not a doctor, and you probably aren't either, but perhaps you are. And if you are, go ahead and state that and where they can get the information and studies. Okay, let's be real clear about that. Yeah, and see, she's saying one doctor agrees, Dr. Furman disagrees. Each has to find what's right for them. Absolutely. Yeah, you could you could add a little tomato paste. I might have some tomato. That's a good idea. Let's add some tomato paste. I think, do I have any in here? No, I can't find it. Usually when I have leftover tomato paste, hey Cheryl, can you reach me the tomato paste? Okay, I will show you the overhead view. Cheryl doesn't want to be on camera today. Just please get me the tomato paste. Thank you.
My pajamas aren't as fancy.
The thing is I have a bra with my pajamas. Is all that's going on here. Yeah, tomato paste will make it redder, and good Lord, this one's beat up. Let's see if I can even get this off. It was held solid though. Does that come close? No. So I'm going to try it from the bottom. But each doctor is going to be different about different things, and each person may have allergies. Some people can't eat nuts and seeds for certain allergy reasons or medical reasons. And what I want to be real careful of, and what's important to me, is that we don't start telling other people what they should do. I'm not going to tell a vegan they should be whole food plant-based. I'm not going to tell my meat eater friends. What you can do is serve as an example, and when they ask what are you doing and why do you look better, then you can give them information, and maybe they'll hear it, maybe they won't. Might make you sad. But that the best thing you can do is take care of yourself. That's why they tell us to, on the airplane, put on your mask before helping somebody else put their mask on. Because if you don't, you'll pass out, and then your kids will never have masks on. And that's a very sad story. But that's why, but it's not hard to put yours on first. So there you go. Let's see what we have. So I'm going to put a little bit of tomato paste in here just because I'm getting ready to order, probably putting a tablespoon, might put a tablespoon and a half. And perhaps if I had used Better Than Bullion, there would be salt in here already too. So I was tasting it unsalted. Come on there. I don't know if you guys saw it, it's not wanting to dissolve. There we go. We'll get you going. Yeah, that's a little bit darker and makes me a little happier. It smells really good though. But I'm going to taste this little bit of pasta real quick, and then I'm getting back to you. Oh, it's got a little bit more time. I'd say it's got 5 more minutes. So I'll put on the timer again for that. I could go ahead and put some salt and pepper in there, and again, if you're salt free, there you go. You don't have to do it. You know, it could be my computer. It is lightly red. This one seems very orange, but again, it could have to do with the tomatoes I used. The fire roasted tomatoes may have taken, I'm not used to using them in this way, but it tastes good. It smells really good. And from the toasting the pasta, I think it smells kind of buttery to me, which I think is interesting. And we're also doing kind of an infusion method of cooking pasta, and you could do this anyhow. You can put pasta, obviously we all put pasta in soup and let it cook, but you can do that instead of boiling water, putting the pasta in and taking it out too. There's a lot of different ways to do everything. Yeah, it does look like a creamy tomato soup made with milk, and I was wondering if the onions wouldn't do that on their own. Kind of, I'm trying to think of when I make my tomato soup, and there's recipes on Healthy Slow Cooking and Plant-Based Instant Pot, I use some oats and cashews. If you don't use nuts, you could just use cashews. You could also add some extra cooked onion in there, and that's going to make it nice and creamy. Exactly. A touch of red pepper paste might be good, used in Turkish food. I think it would be good, but I feel like I'm straying a little adding this tomato paste. I want to keep fairly true to this flavor profile, just because I'm making somebody else's. Yes, the tomato powder would make it redder as well, and I just used the last of it. I'm actually going to have to order it, I'm pretty sure, which is sad because I've been making my own for so long. It's the first time I've run out in years. Oh, you're so sweet. I think it's really important for us to be inclusive because there's a lot of spaces that are for one style of eating. And the thing is I still see I see all of us under plant eaters, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, if you can eat vegan. Let me see. Chef AJ says, eat the least restrictive diet that you can do to meet your goals, whatever they are, health, weight loss, weight gain, whatever that is. And I really like that. And I think sometimes in our lives we have to look at things a little different. If you have an eating disorder, you may need to be more inclusive with everything, and that's perfectly fine too. You are more than welcome here. I'm never going to say don't have this or don't have that, right? Yeah, oh, absolutely, Nona. The great thing about whole food, plant-based, no added oils, the washing up is a breeze. Drains don't get clogged. There's not junk everywhere. It's much nicer. When I was doing the Ninja Creamy stuff, I did do a recipe or two with coconut milk, and it was just, I had to put them in the dishwasher. I just couldn't get them to get that film away. So I wasn't pretty thrilled. And Penny says, when I do mine, I'm going to use the tinkyata rice shells. I'll let you know how it goes as well. And yours will cook less time than this. And I believe there's a lot of gluten-free pastas that might dissolve in this. So use your best, most sturdy. This looks pretty good though. And I'm getting a little simmer going on because of this big pan. And probably what we're going to do is freeze some of this soup. Pasta can sometimes, if you're not eating all this, it's going to get more and more waterlogged. So you might not want it to be cooked past al dente when you pull this off of the stove. But you know, if everybody's going to eat it, cook it all the way. And Marilyn says, I love recipes that only use one pot. Yeah, the Vitamix. So I've done it in the Instant Pot. I've done it in a Vitamix. I've done it in a heated blender. You can do it all different kinds of places. And I'm going to turn it off because that is the 5 minute. And I think it looks pretty good. Let you guys see. The A, I think the A is for alcohol, but I know also it can't have avocado. And for some reason that is like stuck in my brain. So I'm going to add, you could add salt substitute. She's saying about a teaspoon of salt. And I think with the pasta and all this, that might not be a bad idea. You could start with a salt substitute for about the same. And she said freshly ground black pepper, but Cheryl's going to do better with this. And she was saying a half teaspoon, so I'm going to use about a quarter. Cheryl doesn't like a lot of black pepper. Let's mix this in, and then I'm going to taste it. You want to let the salt dissolve if you're using salt. If you're using a salt substitute or blend, you want to get that to mix in really good. Oh, that's awesome. Then Penny loves her pasta mushy. Then you should always cook your soups with the pasta shells in there then. Okay, I'm going to get a different spoon. And I had already tasted the pasta, so I'm pretty sure the pasta's done. I think it would have been fine taste-wise with just like a teaspoon or two of the tomato paste. I do think my tomatoes were a little weak, but it's really interesting. So let's ladle out some. I have some bowls, and these also have lids, so I'm probably going to have a big stack of these down in the freezer full of this for Cheryl. Actually, I think it'll look cooler in the red one, so let's take a look at that. We'll make sure we get some good pasta in there, and fingers crossed this can keep Cheryl off the Campbell's. That's like the one thing that's hard for her because it's her comfort food. And the pasta is all sinking to the bottom. I'll see. I'm trying to get a couple for you to see. There's a lot more pasta than these 3-4 little things you see here. So that is our soup, and I'm going to let it cool down. We're going to eat it. We're going to eat it for lunch, and maybe I'll make a salad. I have some leftover brown rice, steamed brown rice, cauliflower chorizo I made with rice, cauliflower, and chorizo spice. I have some of that queso. I have something else that I can't remember what I made because now I've made a whole bunch of stuff today. And Alicia says, do you think the creaminess came from the starch off the pasta? Probably a little bit, but honestly, the color was this way since I pureed the onions with the tomato. So I think most of it is from the onion cooking. And Jennifer said, oh, thank you for clarifying Sofas. I follow Dr. McDougall and Mary as well, and I'm on a whole food plant-based SOS free. Sofas is a bit more restrictive than I'm willing to go. And I think the thing is people don't go like, I think today I will be Sofas free. I think what happens is they try. So Dr. McDougall's normal diet is not SOS free. It's whole food, plant-based, no oil. The maximum weight loss, or if you have a health condition, like let's say bad blood pressure or something like that, you might then not eat salt. But so if you don't have results on Dr. McDougall's whole food, plant-based, no oil, a lot of times then he will pass you to Dr. Goldhammer of True North, who does an SOS diet. And that's another reason why whenever we have these big, like, seminars with all the different doctors, it can be a little confusing. And I just want to be super specific so no one thinks that's the way I need to do it or this is the way. No, you get to make the choice. And it's between you and your doctor and what your goals are. So, at some point, if Cheryl and I are having trouble taking off weight, we might choose to be more restrictive for a period of time. Right now, we still do plain old Dr. McDougall starch solution, but maybe there's this mystery 5 pounds. People, if I could only take off that last 5 pounds, and I don't have that kind of goal. Mine's a health goal, and you know what? I didn't tell you guys. I got my liver tests. My liver numbers are great. So yay. They've been high for several years, and since doing Dr. McDougall since July, they're smack dab in the middle of normal. So I'm thrilled about that. So, and I told Stacy, because we went on vacation as well, and my weight didn't go down, it stayed the same. And I said, well, here's how I'm feeling right now. I'm like, before it was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. I don't want to get a liver transplant. Let's get this off. So now I'm like, I don't want to gain any weight, but if I start losing weight a little slower, I'm okay with that, right? Because my liver was my big concern. So, but supposedly these last 5 pounds that people talk about are supposed to be very, very hard to lose, and you may have to be more restrictive to lose them. But, and I've got to see, Lisa Rice and I may be talking about BMI, and that could be an interesting conversation to have there, because she's a health coach and she deals with people doing that. I've not been there. Let's see what we got. It looks so good. I'm going to make it as soon as we finish here. And like, seriously, the only reason this took a while is because I'm chatting with you. Yeah, the tofu scramble, and we're going to freeze the tofu scramble as well, so that way I'll have a couple of weekend tofu scrambles just ready. Or when we take our trip, we might freeze them and then put them in the cooler so that we can heat them up during the road trip. So that'll be great. Oh, absolutely. And Alicia says, people seem to move along the continuum of whole food, plant-based on what's happening in their lives. And yes, and sometimes it depends on your health, a weight goal, a gain, weight goal being I need to gain weight, I need to lose weight, whatever that is for you, or how you feel best. Oh, thank you very much yeah, I'm super excited about the lab results. I just found out, I think Friday. Yay! Oh, cute dancers. I know, isn't it awesome? And the thing is what we've been doing isn't hard. And when we were at Live Your Best Life conference, and we'll talk about it tomorrow too. I haven't put up because I'm putting up all these lives. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to put up the live with me and Cheryl. We'll talk about it. We definitely had a couple of treaty things. But we were also in Sacramento, and we ate at this amazing place that has no oil menu all the time. Another one that will do no oil if you give 24 hours advance notice, and there are a few others like that. It was a wonderful time, and yeah, I'll make sure that Cheryl and I talk about that. Oh, and Jennifer said, I made this soup this weekend, brought some for lunch today. I received an email from my boss who's on vacation informing me that the microwave is dead. There's no stove. Oh, no. Well, one of the things I hope to do next week, we got some little things for travel that you can cook in, and so maybe we can talk about those. There's one I'm trying to get them to send me, but I think it's too expensive, honestly. None of them are super cheap, but this one I think is too expensive. So if they'll give it to me, I will show you. I like it because it runs on batteries. The ones we have to plug them in, but you could use a car adapter and put them in the car or have them by your office. Thanks, Rill. Oh, and I know you've asked me this before, and I don't know, like in a couple of weeks. Sometimes when I have a whole lot to do, I only go to the next thing. So right now my brain only knows that at 5 o'clock I'm going to go live again. And but it's near the beginning. It's not the beginning of October. I think it's the second week in October. So, and we'll talk about that. Oh, thank you guys so much. All right, I'm gonna go feed Cheryl some lunch. This will be up, obviously, as a replay if you've missed it. Don't forget, and when you tell me tomorrow, I want to get vegan for everyone now, it's not available. It's not my fault. I can't make her give it to you. I am not in charge of this product or the sales process. So, okay. If you don't want it, that's fine too. We can still hang out at 5 o'clock. And you can ask me questions about other recipes or things. But what I'm going to do is make an air fried cauliflower, because I've got a head of cauliflower in the fridge. And I think I'm going to make the bang bang sauce. There was a vegan restaurant that was near me, and I'm sad that they're not here anymore. They're actually in, I think, Cary or Raleigh. But they had pre-McDougal deep fried buffalo or bang bang cauliflower that was really good. And so now I'm not tempted, but this way I can air fry it. The bang bang sauce is kind of a creamy sriracha sauce. It's usually they do vegan mayo and sriracha, so I thought we would make that with sriracha and vegan yogurt, which vegan yogurt is the answer to a lot of but I don't want to put sour cream in there, but I don't want to put cream cheese in there, but I don't want to put vegan yogurt, plain unsweetened. If it's not thick enough, you can put a coffee filter over a mesh strainer and let it sit overnight, kind of like people did dairy yogurt in, I think that was an 80s or 90s thing. Okay. All right. I will see you guys all possibly at 5 or some other later time, and fingers crossed, still will be in my jeans.